This webinar will be all about real estate workflows, but we're going to be showing off the agent creation process and showing off the platform, which means there'll be a lot of different use cases that we'll show, but the focus for this one is going to be on a variety of real estate use cases. We did a couple of webinars prior to this on real estate. Go ahead and check those out if you want. But we'll go ahead and get started right now with this one. So what we're going to be talking about is a variety of use cases for using agents to automate workflows for efficiency and growth. This has been a big new accelerant for real estate operations, and I'm excited to show this off to you today. First, a quick word about Kolena. Kolena, we're basically the AI quality company. We work with a lot of these companies that you see here. We've helped them develop their AI products, and now many of them are building agents and deploying agents with us. We're very happy to have them as customers. We've learned a lot from them and know that they're getting a lot of value out of us. We hosted a big conference just last year, the AI Quality Conference here in San Francisco, where we're based. We had a lot of attendance, a lot of great representatives from our technology partners and regulatory partners. If you want to check out some of the content that we had from this conference, you can find it at aiqualityconference.com. You can also find all of our talks from that, plus other talks like these webinar recordings, if you go to YouTube and look for Kolena. We have a whole channel there where you can check out all of our great content. All right, without further ado, here's our agenda for today's webinar. The first thing I'll touch on is just how agents are really accelerating this workflow automation for real estate. And in particular, it's because they can be tailor-made for any document workflow. We're going to see a lot of different examples today. You can see that most of the content here is going to be me giving demos. I'm going to jump right in and show the creation process for all of these agents. We're going to create them live together. The first one I'm going to show you is a lease abstract agent. You could think of this more generally as an agent that's going to turn contractual documents, contracts of any kind, into a summary abstract. And it can be in a customized format that matches whatever output that you like. The next demo I'll take a look at is visual property inspection. So the cool thing about the underlying models that we're using is that they understand more than just text. They also understand images. So I'm going to show you an example of photos of a property, and the agent will use that to generate these detailed reports that we can use for things like property inspection. The next demo I'll go into is kind of an expansion of an insurance use case, looking at loss runs. So like historical claims, for example. Often they can be really big documents with lots of rows that essentially needs to be extracted accurately and quickly. It's otherwise a very manual, tedious process. And this can now be done very efficiently, very fast, and very accurately by an AI agent. So I'm going to show that off. Very cool. And then hopefully we have time, but at the end I want to show off at least a little bit of a demo of underwriting and risk analysis. So doing things like screening applicants very quickly, validating for compliance against policies, getting risk reports, doing these things in just a few minutes. These agents can handle this stuff automatically. I don't want to show that off. We have a Q&A function here. If we have time at the end of the webinar, I'll answer some live, but you don't have to wait. The Q&A widget here, if you just type in your questions, there should be a little Q&A button in your Zoom interface. We have Gava here helping out, answering questions. And so if anything comes up while you're watching these demos, if you're wondering if we handle something or what our policy is, or you just want to talk to us and learn more, please write in that Q&A section. Great. All right, here we go. So just to start off very quickly with a high-level summary, what I mean by AI agent for anybody that is new to the topic. An AI agent, you can think of it as it's a new application of AI, and you can think of them as autonomous systems. You can think of them as workers in a way. They're effectively an intelligent system, an intelligent worker that is combining these new technologies that have emerged over the past few years, these foundational models from companies like OpenAI and Anthropic and Google, along with memory systems. So what we're doing in the platform is intelligently creating a way to store and process the information used by the agent, so the documents, the images, and things like that, making them available to the foundational model, which is kind of the brain. And that it translates into advanced capabilities like being able to run calculations and generate deep reports. And it is a lot like a real human worker, like a junior analyst or somebody who can come in and, has the ability to not just pull out information, but to understand where that information is contained, how it might be conveyed in different ways, what that information means in relation to other pieces of information, and can summarize that together as if you had assigned an analysis to somebody or assigned a data entry task to somebody. That's what these AI agents can do now, and they can do it autonomously, and they can do it with much higher accuracy rates, particularly for some of these tedious tasks that a human person might otherwise, get bored or get tired or for whatever reason not do things correctly by accident. And so that's where these AI agents are really powerful for accelerating these workflows because they can do that all automatically and accurately. This is a diagram that kind of shows off a little bit about what Kolena is as a platform. We sit here in the middle where you can think of the platform as the AI agent builder and the platform that contains the instructions for all of your agents. You'll connect your data sources to the agents. So it could be from email, from cloud storage, it could be from whatever property management tools you're using, whatever your data storage is, you can integrate that to the agent, basically create a pipe to the agent so that it is pulling in information for wherever you want. You can take it in a variety of different formats. The agents will do some processing of those documents intelligently based on the instructions that we give it just one time. We give it the initial set of instructions and then it'll keep executing on those instructions until we want to change them. And it will transform that into whatever output format we want and send it to whatever destination we want. So if we want it as a structured, CSV or Excel file, for example, if we want to send it to a data warehouse or another tool that takes in a processed document, you could send it back into a customer relationship software or property management software or wherever you want your documentation, your processed documents to live. You can create another pipe to do that there. And this connection allows you to have this automatic processing step so that as soon as documents come in, you get a processed document out. And this automated process happens very quickly once you've established the instructions for these agents. So what I'm going to do for you today is basically give you a demo of creating a few of these agents to give you a sense of what kinds of use cases are possible here. So let's go ahead and leave this slideshow. I'm going to go ahead and show you the platform. You can think of this as the home page for the platform. These are a set of agents that I've created before. I want to create a new agent for you. When you're creating an agent, you just provide natural language. One of the powerful things about our platform is that you don't need to have any special technical knowledge about AI or machine learning or how to create agents. We're kind of baking that in for you so that you give us your natural language instructions. We'll reformat it, rewrite it so that it works best with the AI. We have several templates here as well. Otherwise, you can provide any instructions you want. For the first one, I want to show you a lease abstraction demo agent. So I'm going to just go ahead and click this one. That will send us to the agent creation creation flow here. We can see that the objective that we have for this agent is to draft lease abstractions for commercial real estate. That's from the template that I just chose. We could have written anything here. And the agent will use that instruction to understand the nature of the objectives that we have so that when we give it more instructions down the line, it'll have this objective in mind, and that will help it to better understand what we're going for and to contextualize the data that I'm going to give it. So the first thing we do is we want to give it just an initial set of documents so that we can basically start giving the initial instructions to the agent. We're going to give it an example and say, here's the types of things that I want you to do to this type of document. In this case, since I'm wanting to abstract a lease, what I'm going to do is just click to upload a lease that I have right here. This is just an office lease. I'll go ahead and click submit. As soon as I click submit, it gets processed into the platform. We can see here the actual document. We'll just go ahead and take a closer look at it here. This is a multi-tenant office lease. You can see that it has the key information and all these fields are filled out. This is probably all information that is important at some point or for various reasons. You have, of course, things like the lessee, the lessor, the rent schedule. There are other things relating to a lot of other properties. All of this is information that would otherwise have to be extracted manually, processed manually. And this is just one example of a type of lease. We could have any arbitrary length document, and the format can be anything. So what's powerful about these agents is that nothing has to match any specific format because there's contextual understanding. So the first thing we want to do here is just offer some initial instruction about what we want. So what I want to know, for example, just right at the top is, who is the lessee? I'll go ahead and click create. That will start off that extraction process. And while it's doing that, let's see, I also want to know, I want to know an example of like, go ahead and click, what is the lease type? Go ahead and click create. What happens when I click create, and I'll show it up here, is that we're taking in what was given. And here we can see that it actually rewrote the instruction for the agent. I asked it for what is the lessee name, and it kind of enriched that automatically for us to create this instruction for itself. It then ran that instruction, which was optimized for the AI. We can see that it got this answer, Koala AI Incorporated, which is correct. We can see that information right here. We are provided with reasoning, so the agent is telling us exactly where it got this information and even provides a citation. So it's showing us in the document, and we can click on the pages if we wanted to go and find that. For the lease type, this is another format. We can see that it rewrote it so that it's looking for things like gross, net, modified gross, or triple net. These aren't terms that I specified for it. I just asked it what is the type of lease, but it understands by looking at this, by understanding that we're talking about these commercial real estate leases, that these are likely classes. So it can be assigned one of these categories effectively, and it's decided to assign it gross, which is correct, as we can see. So those are two types of extractions that we can do. Let's show another one. I want to show, for example, let's see, I want to do what is the base rent and the rent schedule. So this is going to be an example of something a bit more complex. These are examples of just two basic extractions, just showing that it can correctly find and extract information, show all of that intelligently. That's kind of the base assumption here. But what I wanted to do is, find anything. I wanted to, have like a structured set of information. So for example, it rewrote this prompt so that it's now going to be looking for any rate amendments or special provisions, things like that. So I'm going to go ahead and click create. And what it should do is we can see here over here in the document, there's this free rent clause 1.5a, where it says the base rent for the second month of the lease shall be 100% abated, which meaning there's free rent for the second month. And that's obviously going to be important here. Let's see if it found that. Great. So now we have that information here where we can see the base rent. We can see that the second month is free. We can see that the rent changes on these particular dates. And for example, let's say we wanted to have this information not as text, but as a table. I can just say format as a table. And so when I'm suggesting an improvement, I'm still, again, just using natural language as if I was talking to a coworker and asking them to make a change. Now it has incorporated that, it's rewrote its instruction for itself, and now we can see that it's specified that it's going to output as a table, and it's going to have these columns, and that's exactly what I want. So I'm going to go ahead and click update. So in this way, you can start to build out whatever abstract, whatever summary you want, just using your natural intuition and asking for it in natural language. You can iterate with the system using that suggest improvement. You can see here that now we have a table view, which might be more useful for us. And we can edit that directly if we want or suggest further improvements. I want to show one more. I want to see, we can do things that are not just extractions, but things like calculations. So, for example, what I want to know is what is the total remaining lease obligation from, and I'm going to choose an arbitrary date here, June 1st, 2025. That information that I'm asking for is not specified in the document anywhere. I just chose that date arbitrarily. So it's going to have to actually do a calculation in order to determine that. It's going to have to take into account this rent schedule. So it's not just going to sum up the base rent for all of those months. It actually has to understand that there are different rents for different time periods, and that calculation has some advanced steps in it. We can see we've got a result here already, and this reasoning here provides us exactly with the work that it did. So it's showing us the work. We can see that it understood each of those different rent changes and has actually understood how to create that calculation, and we're seeing the actual math, and we can see exactly how it got to this total. And I like showing this because it shows that we're, again, using intelligence here. This isn't like the old AI systems that you might be thinking of before, or whatever your existing product does, where it's extracting information. This is going beyond that. And there's intelligence applied here, where it can do things like this, where it takes different pieces of information, combines them together, does some intelligent operation on top of it, such as calculations. And as we're building this up, we can add as many fields as we want. It's generating this report view. You can think of this as the ultimate output that we're going to get from this agent. We can download it as a PDF or a docx file and print it out, of course. Here we're showing the reasoning, but we could also hide that if we just wanted to have, a pure report. And this is effectively the kind of document that's going to be created anytime we upload a new lease. So what we've done here is we're essentially providing the initial instructions, but now anytime we upload any kind of lease, it will generate a report using the same instructions for all of these fields. So just to show an example of something that's a little bit more filled out, so you don't have to wait for me to manually type in all of those fields, I'm just going to show you here. This is the same document, but it's in an agent that I created earlier. We can see that we have much more information. I've got a lease summary up here at the top, which has some of the main information that I care about, all kinds of these other extractions. Whatever information that you care about, you can effectively create your own custom abstract. If you have a format that you're using right now, you can even provide that to the agent and say, correspond your output to match this format. That way you're getting exactly what you want. And when we're doing this, every time we upload a new file, it gets processed through the same thing. So for example, this is a different lease document, and it's run through the same extractions, and we have the same information. I didn't have to provide those instructions again. This was all done automatically as soon as I uploaded that document. And of course, you can do this document upload manually like I showed you, but the way that you get the automation is through the connectors. So connectors are sources and destinations. So just going back to that slide very quickly, this is where we're adding in the connectors. We're adding in these pipes that connect the sources and the destination. What I just showed you was creating an agent. Now we're going to create a pipeline from the sources and a pipeline for the destination so that we can have this automation running. So coming back over here, a source is anything like cloud storage. It could be an email connection. So you could have some automatic forwarding set up, for example, to go to this lease agent so that anytime this agent, which has its own unique email address, gets generating an email address for this agent. So now we could send lease documents to this email address and they'll automatically be processed. You can also connect to systems like SharePoint, for example. This is just a few of the integrations that are possible. And we can also specify destinations. So same thing if we want to wherever we want our output file to go, we just provide that connection. So just as a demonstration, I'm going to use a Google Drive connection where I've got it connected already to my Google Drive account here. And what I want it to do is be looking for new lease documents coming into this lease document folder. I'm going to go ahead and choose that. It already exists, so I'm just going to exit. You can see that I've created it here. I'm going to make sure that that's enabled. Great. And similarly, when it's done, I've set it to output to this lease abstract folder. So got it setting to a new folder. We can choose which format we want it in. This is kind of a structured document format, or we can have it output as, a regular document, like a Word type document. We can choose we want reasoning and citations, whatever we want. And so now what happens is whenever I go to that folder, so whenever I drop in information into this lease abstracts folder, let me go ahead and show just dragging that in real quick. Got a new lease here. So if I were to drop in, this is a lease with an amendment, and those two documents can be taken together. We'll put those in here. I'll have to actually drag those into the abstracts folder here as soon as it finishes uploading. And oops, so I wanted to go that into the documents folder. That's why. When those come into the documents folder, now what's happening is these are going to be automatically processed here, and they'll show up here. We can see that these are now running automatically. So these are the documents that I just put in. And we can see that it's running to automatically extract based on the instructions that we gave it. So we don't have to do any additional manual work. And we've just set up an agent to automatically process these in just a few minutes. I spent a few more minutes setting this up beforehand, but I showed you the process is really very quick. And this means that you're now having this process automated, and it's very accurate, and it never gets tired, and it runs 24/7. And you can do this at scale for hundreds, thousands of documents, and they'll each show up here, and you can access them that way. Each one of these represents a different lease abstract, and we can see all of that information together. We could download that as a CSV. So if I wanted to take a look at that CSV, let me just show you that real quick. This is an example of what that CSV output would look like. It has all the information for all of the leases and lease abstracts that we've created. And that is effectively the way that you get this automation. And if you want to try this agent, I've actually set up something here where if you want to try it out, right now you can email this email address, lease-agent@kolena.com. Send in any kind of lease documents that you want to run through that agent that I just showed you. It'll generate an abstract, and I'll configure it so that the agent will email you back with the abstract. That way you can get a sense for what's happening and test it out for yourself. I'll share this email address again at the end, but feel free to do this right now. The agent's already set up, and that's because I configured it to monitor that email address. Great. So this has been an example of creating an abstract for a lease. This could have been any type of contract or any type of document at all. This is an example of, creating a summary of information based on whatever arbitrary criteria that you have, whatever you want to see, whatever format you want to see it in. What I would like to do now is, let's say you are a property manager or somebody working in insurance claims, and you have a task to assess the, let's say, the quality of a property or the quality of a repair based on not just text reports or contract forms that have been submitted, but photos, which is what you would want to see to verify if information has been completed. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to create a whole new agent. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to create a new agent. And in this case, what I want it to do is help me out with insurance claims processing. So I'm going to give it the instruction to screen for inconsistencies and insurance claim documents. And I'm going to show you an example that involves photos. So I've got some documents set up over here. This has to do with property damage and a repair estimate. You can see that these are JPEG images. We support a variety of file types, all the document formats that you're probably used to, but also spreadsheets and images, even audio files. I'll go ahead and click submit. It will right away start processing these images. These are going to be the reason that we can understand these images now is because of the power of not just the underlying AI models that we're using, but also the intelligent routing system that we've built into Kolena to automatically know which models to use for different tasks. So just taking a closer look at the documents real quick, we have this property coverage document, which we're going to be referring to, but most of the files here are these images. You can see that there are images of this particular apartment, which has some damages shown, the baseboards here, that up there, different, various states of repair or disrepair for each of these segments. And what we want to do, and this is the a more complete post-repair, for example. And at the end, there's this repair document, repair estimate document, which has all of the items and the totals for the repairs that are now documented in these images. So what we want our agent to do is help us to understand if those photos and the repair estimates actually correspond correctly, in the same way that if we were, as a human, coming through and wanting to understand what's here. So the first thing that I'm going to do is, I want to know what the property address is for this particular insurance claim. That information is going to be down here. We can see that there's the property address. It should come up fairly quickly. Just to show an example, I want to know, what is the type of loss that's being described here? Why did all of this happen? What category? This is again going to make a categorization. You can see we've got the property address now. I want to know. The floor area by. Actually, let's see. Is that in here? Great. Yes. So we have things like the dimensions of the room. So I'm going to say get the floor area by room and put it into a table. Right. We see that it understood that this is a water damage claim. And now I'm going to go ahead and jump into showing an extraction that actually deals with the photos. So what I want to know is, do the photos match the repair estimate? That's kind of the key question here. But if I click preview, it'll show us what the prompt is rewritten before it starts extracting it. So let me just show you what that looks like. It's rewritten the instruction I just gave it to look for this information here. And we can see that it understands, that it's looking for water damage because it understands the rest of the context here. So it's not just rewriting this in the syntax that's expected by the AI, it's actually using its contextual understanding to enrich the instructions that we've given it to make it even more thorough in corresponding to the task that we've given it based on its understanding of the documents that it's given us. So I'm going to have it go ahead and get started on that. And that's going to output as a true or false. So either the photos do match the repair estimate or they don't. In that case is how we've set it up as a Boolean, what they call that, true or false. The other thing we want to know is, are the repairs covered by the policy? And that's going to take a look at this document here, where it's talking about property coverage. And this, again, will let us know if the repairs that we're now being asked to accept are actually in compliance with the policy. Are they something that we should be rejecting or accepting? And we can have this automatically assessed here. And we can see here it's given us true, and it gives us pretty thorough reasoning here. It tells us the parts of the policy coverage where each of this applies. It's giving us citations to the documents, so we can see that it's referencing the insurance policy, it's referencing the repair estimate, even specific pages in the repair estimate, so we can click on these to take a look at what it's pointing to. And it's generated this as true. We could have this change its output format if we wanted to show, all of this information and not just true or false. That's very easy to do. We could just edit the extraction, or we could suggest an improvement to change the format. And then similarly here with the photos, we can see how it's actually understanding what's happening here. For example, this is showing that the photos in the repair estimate show strong consistency. The type of damage, the repair estimate indicates water damage, and the photos show water damage repair, including open walls and floor replacement work. And it's provided this image as a citation, provided this image as a citation, and this image. These are the things that it's looking at and corresponding with the repair estimate. So all of this information is now available to us. We can trace it back, we can verify and give it further refinements if we want. But the key power here is that these images are understood, and they're not just understood in a very basic way, they're understood in context for whatever the application is here. We understood that this was a water damage claim, and so the things that is being focused on in these photo analyses is their relation to water damage and their relation to the estimate. So this is a very powerful way to take in all kinds of information that you have for your property, not just traditional documents that you might think of as just text. It's not limited to just text. As another illustration of that very quickly, I want to show you an example of an apartment inspection. So what this agent is set to do is to track and document apartment unit conditions. And this might be, if you're doing property management and you've got some photos sent to you and you need to assess things. Let's take a look at an example. These are some photos of a particular apartment. And what I've set up here for these extraction is very similarly, I told it to list each room shown in the photos and indicate whether there is at least one photo showing that room. And we can see here that we have photos that are covering everything that we expect. This is, at a glance, we can automatically know if we have the right coverage. Great. And going beyond that, we can also see, I gave it the instruction to, look at the physical condition, the visible physical condition of the appliances, fixtures, flooring, and walls. And I asked it to classify, to give it a grade, basically, between poor, fair, or good. And we could have given it whatever instructions that we wanted. And what we got here is an overall assessment. We could have asked for this assessment by room if we wanted. And we can see even the reasoning for why it's suggested that this is in good condition. New appliances, contemporary tile work, no visible damage or wear, etc. And if we wanted to know, for example, if there are any maintenance issues. So right away, we have this report that gets generated for us where we have automatically the kinds of information that we care about. Let me just show you an example of something that is not in good condition. You can see here that this unit doesn't look like it's in nearly as good of a condition. You can see, the condition of the walls and various other things doesn't seem to be in good repair. And we can see that here in its reasoning, where it provides specific reasoning for why it provided this grade. And if we wanted to revise that so that it looks for certain things before it assigns a grade or whatever arbitrary instructions, it's able to extract that information from the images. It's very cool technology that can now understand these images on this level. So I wanted to show that as another example of visual understanding here. Great. Sticking with an insurance use case, what I want to show now is creating an agent to handle loss runs. So let's say that you are now thinking about the history of claims for a particular property, and you're dealing with loss runs, these big documents that have potentially quite a lot of rows of claims information that has to be extracted and is often in a different format for every insurer that's providing it. So I want to show this as an example of how the system can handle lots of different formatted input documents and handle them all equally without having to have special instructions necessarily. So for this one, what I want to do is I'm going to have it I want to perform loss run analysis. I'm going to go ahead and click that. It'll kind of revise that prompt just a little bit for me. Here we go. And I'm going to go ahead and click this. And what I've got here are several different loss run documents. I'm going to start with just the one here as an example. This is a loss run from AIG. And we can see here that we have different policies, the specific rows for different claims. Let's see, here we go. We can see the claimant name, the dates, the loss description, the amount paid, in this case for 0 for those. But this is a relatively short document, but this could be arbitrarily long. And we can start having it summarizing this information for us. So we can set it up so that these loss runs are being handled automatically. So for example, if we wanted to take a look at, let's say let me just start off, what's the property address? Which property are we talking about? And we want to take a look at, oh wait, actually, let's see. I wanted to take a look at, sorry, not the property address. The claims details is what I'm thinking about. So what I am thinking about here is, what I want to do is from this information, I kind of just want to extract these rows. So let me get rid of this. That's not what I was thinking of. So what I want is to have a table, basically. So I'm going to tell it to extract a table with claims information. And let's see how it refines that. We could provide further instruction, but I want to see it enrich that for us here. Great. And we can see how it's enriched that based on what it sees in the document and what is typically contained in these loss runs. Since we gave it the objective up at the top, that this is going to be a loss run analysis agent, it's going to pull out all of this information. I'm going to go ahead and click create. And that'll start extracting basically each of these rows for us automatically. If we also want to do something like let's see, we want to do claims by type, for example, where we are starting to compile and create whatever kinds of summary information that we'd like based on this. Here we go. Great. So this is effectively all of the rows that are in this document have now been extracted into this new table, which we could copy and put into our own table. We could put it into a spreadsheet just like that, just by copying it directly into a spreadsheet. We can also have it, of course, output over here in this PDF document or this docx format in our report view. And in this way, and we can customize this table however we like, of course, but the key idea here is that this has all been extracted automatically. And we can see here that we've also got a breakdown of claims by type. So what I want to show is, let me actually just show you, this is another version that I set up previously. Same document here, just showing some of the fields that I've already established here. We can see, for example, like the claim type, which claim numbers they correspond to, how many claims are still outstanding from this particular loss run. And now every time we upload a new document, so if I come over to the document view, I'm going to add in a new loss run from, let's do velocity, just to showcase that it doesn't matter what format these are in. So this is another loss run, but you can see that it's formatted completely differently. This is very common, of course, but that's no problem for these agents. These agents can handle any format. They're going to run the instructions intelligently. So the same prompt, but they're not rigid. They are very able to adapt based on the formatting. So just to show an example of something that's completed, let me go to the next one. This is an example of travelers. There's another one here for another AIG one. This is the velocity one that was already processed, actually. It looks like it didn't have information I'm looking for, though. So let me show you, for example, this one on, yeah, great. You can see that these are all different formats. That's the key idea here. These are all differently formatted, and the agent is able to handle them all. And in this case, we can actually see is, or what we can actually build up. So as we're doing this, we're getting reports for each of these loss runs. Let's say we're doing a whole bunch of loss runs and we want to have a high level view. There's a feature I haven't shown yet, and that's the dashboard. The dashboard, so over here, this is what we were looking at. But now we're taking a look at this dashboard. This dashboard view, it lets you create this based on whatever graphical view that you want to have. So now what we're seeing here is a high level dashboard for all of the insurance claims process, or all of the loss runs that we processed, not just each individual document, although we could set it up that way. So you could have this information generated for each individual loss run, or you could have this analysis page for across all of your loss runs taken together. We can see that we've got things like a pie chart by claims by cause. We can create tables and bar charts. And it's very simple to create these. It's the same process that we use to extract information. So if I wanted to get a pie chart, actually I wanted to generate a pie chart of, let's just do claims by cause. Go ahead and specify that I want that. And what that's going to do is we're doing something in the back end where we're actually, the AI that we've established is actually writing the script to create this. What I mean is, let me show you just by example here. This is the code that was generated. You don't need to understand this, but this is what's happening, is that it's generating the code to actually extract that information in the same way that you would ask a data analyst to write this code. This is now being done automatically. This data analysis function is built into these agents. It's writing the script, it's running that script, and it's generating the corresponding chart to match the data that was extracted there. So we can see there that it's actually just done this over here. Similarly, where it has provided the reasoning, it's just not showing the script there for some reason. So I think that it would just need to generate a script. So in this case, it didn't do it by default, and I want to make sure that it does that. Go ahead and click check. Now it's going to rerun that, and we'll end up with this one. And this is valuable because this is going to ensure that you're able to get the kinds of structured information that you want. And again, all of this code component is not something that you need to understand. You don't need to be able to write code. The code is being written for you so that you can handle things that would otherwise require a data analyst or a business analyst that's able to write this kind of analysis code. So it's another very cool feature that I wanted to showcase. That's over here on the dashboard section, giving you a high level view of whatever is important to you. Right. Another thing that I haven't showcased yet, but I want to mention very quickly is that we were talking about photos, and I want to show very quickly that these agents are also very good at extracting written information, handwritten information. So this is an example of a contractor's application for payment. We can see here that it's a document that has handwritten fields. And what we've had it do is I asked it to extract this table here, contractor's application for payment. You can see here this instruction. And we can see that it's pulling out this handwritten information. And this is obviously a huge time saver for everybody that's dealing with handwritten forms. You can handle them just as capably as something that's computer generated. No problem at all, if you've got photos or scans or whatever it is. And another cool feature of this is that it's actually doing a calculation automatically built in here. We can see, if we look over at this table, row 1, 12,000 for the original contract sum. Net change by change orders is 6,000. 3 is the contract sum to date, line 1 plus 2. And you can see that in the actual document, this is not provided. But what the AI has done is actually calculated that information and filled it in for us. So we actually have intelligence already being applied, calculations already being applied automatically in this extraction and abstraction process. So not only is it able to handle these handwritten documents really well, it can also do some immediate processing on them and enrich them in a way that otherwise they might not have provided. And this can make the task of, deciding, you look, say you're about to need to pay a contractor for those repairs that we were just looking at. This is going to help you with that workflow as well. And the reason I'm showing so many different workflows here is just to hammer home the fact that these AI agents can handle really any document workflow. And when I say document, that includes things like images and photos. And taken together, you start to automate all these workflows, and suddenly you're able to scale up your operation and massively reduce costs because you're not relying on human effort anymore for some of these things. You're not waiting. You have the results that you need effectively immediately in compared to the otherwise slow manual process. And all of this is extremely efficient and can run 24/7 and very accurately and capably. And these workflows, we can build them for whatever customization that we'd like, whatever personalization that we prefer. We can build that in. Another thing that I wanted to show very quickly is, let me see if I can find this document. There is a, you can provide information. Let's see if it's, you can provide a document. Oh, it's in the, it's in the, um, in the repair claim here. So what we did here, this is actually just the property inspection where we're looking for maintenance issues. And what we did was provided this tenant turn checklist. So what that is, let me actually just show you that document so you know what I'm talking about. Let's see, there it is. This file is effectively something that we've provided it as kind of a rubric to start comparing against. Here we go. So what this is that we've provided this as a kind of checklist for the agent to reference. So this document we've uploaded in the instructions here. We attached it as a file just like that. We've attached it right here. And now in the instructions, it's referencing this checklist and the visual inspection. And so together with that document that we've provided, it could be your own personal document of any kind. That's how it's decided, its assessment on these maintenance issues. And so you can provide fairly rich information, and you can use your existing documents. You don't have to figure out how to write this all into the instructions. You can say, take a look at this document that I'm already using, or this checklist that I'm already using, rewrite your instructions so that it's incorporating that checklist, and now automatically incorporate that into your output. This is another very powerful feature. Another one that I probably don't have time to show right now, but we even have the ability to search the web for additional information. So this might come up in something like if you are needing to find external information that you don't have as part of your document set about a property, like you want to know if the property's been in any kind of public reports that you otherwise don't have. You can get that information. You can have the AI actually search the web for more information. Let's see, I think I have an example here. This is an example of creating basically an investment memo, so kind of like an abstract of a property offering in a way. And you can see that we've got an executive summary of this long offering memorandum plus there are lots of lease abstracts. There's this engineer's property condition summary. These are lease abstract for each of the tenants in this office, etc. And in the editor view, what I asked it to do, let's see. I guess I don't have it in here, but what we could have it do is, find similar properties nearby and have it search the web. And what that'll do is it'll start to enrich what we have here in this document set with information nearby. This is a fictional property, so this might not work perfectly, but the idea is it would take this information, it can search the internet for similar properties, and provide that here so that in our report, we end up having that information alongside it. So another cool way to enrich and generate these very rich reports based on whatever your objective is. Cool. The last demo that I want to show very quickly here in the last few minutes that we have is actually, before I do that, let me just show you this one because it's neat. This is just a contractor bid comparison. So let's say you are deciding between 3 contractor bids for a particular repair. Handy Dandy's Repair Services, Action Furnace, and another one actually from Action Furnace. And what we wanted to do is compare these contract bids. So all I asked it to do was create a table, and for each bid, give me the key information. And I just uploaded each of the documents, each of the bids that I got to this agent. And the agent said, okay, here's your report. Here are the different competing bids, the total bid amount, what they're going to be working with. We can customize this with whatever other information we want to know. But this makes it very easy to do a bid comparison simply by providing it all of the individual bid information that we got from each of the contractors. We don't have to manually compile this information. We just go right to the assessment phase. And what these agents are really doing is driving you towards the higher level work, the more meaningful work where you're making a decision rather than doing all of the processing to get to that point where you can make a decision. It's going to let you move on to the higher value work. Okay. Last thing, I want to show an underwriting agent. So let's say that, actually, let me just start this from new here. Let's say that you want to check something for compliance. In this case, I'm going to show an example of somebody who's applying for a residential loan to rent a property. I've got that set up here as, let's see, where did I put that? There we go. This is a set of documents that correspond to an individual's application. We can see here that we've got some pay stubs. Let me just show you the documents. This will be better. Here's the applicant information. This is the background on our guy, Leonard Koala. We've got a copy of his photo ID here. There he is. And this is an example of an image, but we also have the pay stubs that he submitted. We also have some bank statements. We also have, credit score. And that's because the key thing we're evaluating here is whether he's fit for this residential loan. So he's got this application here. We're making sure that this application, that he meets all the requirements to be granted this application. And so what we'll end up being able to do is to, we can do things like, of course, applicant name, just, basic information. I won't spend too much time showing these basic extractions. What I want to show, though, is you can do things that look for compliance across the whole document set. So the way that I like to do is are the names in all the documents consistent? And this is effectively a compliance check that would otherwise take some meticulous attention to detail. We're not just looking at one piece of information and corresponding it to one other piece of information. We're making sure that the name is consistent across everything in the entire document set. And now, just for the sake of time, I'm going to show you the agent that I filled out for this already. And what we can see here is that it's looked at across all these documents, and it's found that the information is consistent. I did another version though. I asked, just generally more, is the information for this applicant consistent across it? And there actually are some discrepancies, and it found that the it basically goes through each of these pieces of information. And for example, it found that there's a slight discrepancy in the reported income here, a slight discrepancy in these bank accounts. And so what this agent is helping us do is to automatically check for issues, for compliance, to help us move again to that decision-making phase for if we are going to approve of this, if we're going to underwrite this loan and accept this person as an applicant. And of course, we get that as a report. We can automate that, have this run anytime we get a new set of applications, and basically get this report automatically anytime. Another very powerful use case that we've got a lot of our customers using at this point. Okay. So I showed a lot of use cases. If you haven't seen yours, we have a lot more use cases online. I want to show you a link for that, but let me just show the last couple slides here. We'll provide a link for that. The key thing here is, the result. I just want to point at the results part of this page, really. This is, truly orders of magnitude faster data entry. Far fewer errors compared to human input for the reasons that I mentioned. And really allows for a whole new level of scale and efficiency for companies that are adopting these agents compared to, relying on a legacy system, which might work, but not nearly at the scale or at the level of the level of automation that these agents can because of the new functionalities inherent in these AI models. And for Kolena, the reason that we are building good agents, the reasons our agents are trustworthy and good and trusted by those customers that I showed at the beginning, is because we have a history, our founders and the company in general, of engineering AI systems and understanding how to build quality into an AI system. And our initial product was an evaluation system for machine learning and AI projects or AI products, such that we're helping customers to evaluate and improve systematically the quality of those products. And now we've built it into this agent system so that you, as a user, a builder of these agents, don't actually have to think about it very much. They're built in for you. That includes things like the automatic prompt optimization, which I talked about quite a bit here. You don't have to understand exactly how to talk perfectly to these AIs. We figured that out for you. We figured out, we provide citations, this way for you to look at the reasoning, to understand, to trust and verify, and to know that it's doing things in the way that you expect and the way that you would do it. And if it's not, you have the ability to simply suggest an improvement, and it'll incorporate that feedback intelligently. That's continuous improvement. So, you suggest that improvement because you've seen an error on one document, and now it won't have that error anymore on any of the other documents either, because it's incorporated that feedback. And then as a summary, we provide this confidence level so that you know exactly how much you can trust it. And this is our way of taking care of all of that on the back end so that you can trust the quality that we're providing without you having to know the inner workings. And this is a complicated slide. I'm not going to spend much time on it. This is just showing how the quality checks are built into the architecture that we have here. And part of the special sauce here is this task planner, where from your perspective, all you're doing is sending in all this data and you're getting the outcome. But what we're doing in the backend intelligently is choosing which models are best, choosing which tools are best for each individual task. What's the best at processing this photo? What's the best for doing this mathematical calculation? What's the best for summarizing this information? And all of that is done with these quality checks in mind. It's quality checks automated as part of the process so that you only get the best quality outcome. This is part of the architecture that we've learned and built up over the years as a company. We're out of time here. So I just want to leave you with this last further resources page here. If you didn't see your use case, that doesn't mean we don't cover it. We have a lot more demonstrated videos that you can see on this kolena.com/use cases page. If you go ahead and check that out, you'll see some more videos. Lots more even that aren't shown on that page. Those are more examples, but the idea is that this platform can be used to automate a lot of different workflows, many workflows, whatever arbitrary workflow you've got. And again, if you want to try out that agent that I created earlier for the lease abstract, just email lease-agent@kolena.com and we'll email you back. If you just want to talk to us, talk to our team, reach out to the link via the link in the chat, and we'll be in touch. All right. Thank you very much for watching this webinar. I'll see you at the next one. Have a good one.